We're going to call this meeting to order, the third regular meeting for the Pasadena Area Community College District. And we'll start with the roll call.
Mr. Osterling?
Here.
Mr. Hilsman?
Here.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Chen Lao?
Here.
Dr. Fellow?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Ms. Hua?
Here.
Mr. Sarkeesian?
Thank you. We are going to adjourn to a closed session. In that closed session, we're going to discuss revised Code Section 54957, Employee Discipline, Dismissal, Release, one employee. Number 2, Government Code Section 4956.9b, Anticipated Litigation, one case regarding workman's compensation. Hunkins Claim Number 514937. We're also going to discuss number 3, Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Appointment, Dean, Academic Affairs, Instructors in Social Sciences, Visual Arts and Media Studies, Mathematics, and Computer Science. And lastly, Government Code Section 54957, Evaluation of Employee, Superintendent, President. We're going to call the open session portion of this meeting to order, and we're going to start off with the roll call.
Mr. Osterlin?
Here.
Mr. Hilsman?
Here.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Chen Lao?
Here.
Dr. Fellow?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Ms. Wah?
Here.
Mr. Sarkeesian?
Here.
Thank you. Next, Trustee Brown, do we have any public comment?
Pledge.
I'm sorry, my mistake. Let's do the pledge. And to do the pledge, we are going to have our Associated Students President, Dion Shelton, lead us in the pledge.
Yay. Okay. Ready? All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dion.
You're welcome.
Okay, next, do we have any public comment on, pardon me, I'm in the wrong spot. We're on C3, my apologies. Are there any requests to approve or reorder the agenda items?
Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Let me finish item 3 and we'll do that. Student trustee vote?
Aye.
All in favor, trustees?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. I'm out of sequence here, and I do apologize. I have to report out on closed session. So I'm going to go backwards to item B. We had 4 items that we discussed in closed session. Item B1, employee discipline. The board approved unanimously the recommendation for the for the discipline that was recommended by administration. Item number 2, Government Code Section 54956.9B, anticipated litigation 1 case regarding workman's compensation. The board approved unanimously the recommendation of the administration, claim number 514937, and that was by a unanimous vote to settle that claim. Item number 3, Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Appointment, Dean Academic Affairs, and instruction. We didn't have a vote.
You did not have a vote, we just discussed it.
It was discussed and no action was taken. And lastly, we also discussed pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, evaluation of employee, superintendent, president, and no action was taken on that item. Apologize for doing that out of order. And so we are going to now go to leap forward again to agenda item C4, which is introductions and recognitions.
Okay, it is my pleasure today. We did a lot of faculty hiring back in the spring, and we hired 46 faculty, and a number of them are here today. We did invite everyone. So if you are a brand new faculty member, I would love it if you would come over and line up over here and come to the microphone and say your name and what department you're in, because it's really great for the Board of Trustees as well as everyone else in the college community to connect the name with the face. So come on up. And your reward for doing this is that we will have cake afterwards. So this is very important. We need you to do this so we get cake. So please.
Gwen Souza, Mathematics.
Okay, great. Welcome.
Angelica Santana, Mathematics.
Okay.
Mathematics people are hanging out. Love it.
Good evening. I'm Carmen Rodriguez in Performing and Communication Arts Speech Department. And I'm here for the cake.
Yay! Appreciate that.
Good evening, Emmanuel Remy, French teacher.
Merci.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Hello, I'm Joanna Chen Cham, Outreach Librarian from the PCC Library.
All right.
My name is Jeff Kane, and I am teaching in the new Design Media Arts area.
Look at you.
Welcome.
Good evening, Leticia Rojas, Social Sciences Education, the Hickson Teacher Prep Program.
Great. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Johansson. I teach economics.
Great.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name's Kay Lamar, and I'm a faculty in the psychology department.
Yay.
Hello, I'm Dave Smith, computer science.
Okay, he might look a little familiar to some of you.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Kwong, and I'm in physics.
Awesome.
Hello, Avisha Chugani with counseling and specifically EOPS, which is Extended Opportunity Programs and Services, who's celebrating our 50th year of
We're going to hear about them later today.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dr. Jason Vasquez. I'm in personal counseling. Great to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And good evening, all. I'm Jake Hartman, a new astronomy instructor, and I'll be running the planetarium as well.
And the cake is really for him because it's actually his birthday today.
Well, thank you very much.
Happy birthday. Yes, it is. So we're going to go on with the meeting, but please, everyone, definitely have cake. And I'm sure that Alex is going to come deliver some cake to the dais up here, right? Other duties as assigned.
And before we go on, I'd like to personally welcome all of our new faculty and staff that just introduced themselves, and welcome to one of the top 10 community colleges here in the United States.
That's right.
Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item C5, public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have any public comment?
Yeah, we have two, and I will call them. The first one we'll have is Adela Ortiz. You will have 3 minutes. I will signal you when to start and when you're to end. Are you ready, Adela?
Just one moment.
Yes?
Sorry, the glasses are... All right.
Go ahead. I'm going to give you an extra second.
Hi, I'm here again for the 4th time, asking you to please do the right thing and fully recognize my catalog rights by putting me back in the Speech-Language Pathology Assistance Program. I'd like to remind you that at the time when Pasadena City College kicked me out of the program, I was a 3.5 GPA student, and I had just received my first ever grant, which was contingent on me being in the SLIPA program. In the school catalog for 2018-2019, it states on page 315, which I gave you guys a copy of at last month's meeting, that it is not necessary to wait until enrollment in SLIPA 18 to begin the program. You see, when you begin a program, that means that you are in the program, and you kicked me out. I already had taken required courses for the program, which are also listed on page 315. The class SLIPA 18 was never a prerequisite to the program when I enrolled, nor was my filling out an application or being put into a lottery that is only held once a year with only 28 slots. All of this advocating for myself has been very stressful to me. Last semester, I had to drop a class just so that I can continue this fight for the right thing. It involves a lot of time and energy. It has also caused me to lose my faith in this school and public education. Maybe because I went to parochial schools for grades 1 through 12 in working class neighborhoods, but I don't feel the same sense of community here anymore like when I first started. I feel like I'm up against a corporation. Isn't it your job to help students, not just educate them? All I ask for you is to be fair to me. These new changes and the way they were handled might not be technically illegal, but they are not ethical. There was no proper notice given to student and counselors. Do you know how hard it is to go back to school at my age, and on top of that, I've had to deal with this situation? This program is the only option I have to work with children, which I love doing, and make a livable wage to support myself with only an associate's degree. I don't know what I will do if I'm not back in the program. Please remember that there was no prerequisite of SLPA 18, no requirement for an application or lottery participation when I enrolled here. Please do the honorable thing, please. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker is Ms. Gregory. There you are.
She's waiting for your light. There you go.
Yes, my name is Miss Gregoire, and I would like to open up with prayer. This is no offense to anyone of different belief. I will open up with Ephesians 3:14 to 21. For this cause I bow my knees unto the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, for whom the whole family in heaven and earth is named, that he would grant you, according to his riches and glory, to be strengthened with might by his Spirit in the inner man, and that Christ may dwell in your hearts with love by faith, and that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may be able to comprehend with all saints what is the width, what is the length, what is the depth, and what is the height, and to know the love of Christ, which passes all knowledge, and to be filled with all the fullness of God. Now unto him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ask or think, according to the power that works in us, unto him be the glory in the church throughout all ages, world without end. Amen. When I first came to Pasadena 13 or 14 years ago, I was broken. And my father came to me and said, let's get you back on track, kid. Someone should help you a long time ago. You're the only girl in the family and handicapped. He said, your Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ will help you. And I, your Father, let's get you back on track, kid. Let's get started. Dear Heavenly Father. At that time, Pasadena extended an olive leaf, and I attended church as much as I possibly could. It wasn't until 2 years later that my feet was on solid ground. And then somewhere along the line, I lost my footage. I signed a contract for 7 years, an educational contract. And that's when my educational journey became intense. I wasn't able to concentrate, pass classes, but I needed to get myself together to modify my behavior. So I worked with personal counseling. And I worked and I prayed, but when I looked up, I found that I wasn't praying. I had forsaken the assembly, and I was far from God. So things happened out off campus, and it drew me closer to him. And I began to pray, and I endured temptation. And it was hard, and it was rough, and I prayed. Well, I stayed in contact with my teacher specialist, Mark Sakata, who had been working with me. And we talked about me returning. But I needed to modify things. So I stand before you with my feet on dry, solid ground, having endured temptation, being given the crown of life. And I'd like to present just...
Your time is up.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. We are going to move on to item C6, approval of minutes from our last meeting, which was our regular business meeting number 2 held on August 21st. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Student trustee?
Aye.
Trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved unanimously. Item C7 is board committees reporting out. Do we have any board committees reporting out? Trustee Martin.
First, there was a Measure P committee since our last meeting, and as the new representative, I attended, and I'm really pleased to report that the purpose of Measure P committee, the citizens oversight, is to make sure that whatever projects we do are consistent with the ballot statement that the voters approved. And I've been circled in and out on this committee numerous times over a decade plus as part of the committee. And there's always a little bit of a confusion in committee members' minds that sometimes they're supposed to be approving projects where obviously the board approves projects. They're supposed to be validating that the projects are consistent with the voter-approved agenda. And I was really pleased that the actual ballot statement that the voters approved is on the agenda of every meeting for the Measure P, and that every project was directly tied to some part of that ballot statement. And so I think that that committee is actually winding down, and it might be the last year we even need a committee because most of the money might be spent. It's the goal for the end of this year. But I really thought the committee's doing a tremendous job of making sure that their number one purpose is being properly fulfilled. They're representing the community and making sure that the projects that we're doing are consistent with what the voters approved. And there was also some interesting follow-up conversation about our U building, which was just general community FYI. And obviously these people being part of many projects at PCC are very concerned about the facilities at PCC, and I appreciate that. So I just wanted to give the board the assurance of what this committee is doing, and I think they're doing it very well.
Trustee Martin, thank you for attending that meeting and reporting out. Do you have any other committees to report on?
Budget and audit also met, and I've been assigned to be the chair of that meeting, and we are going to dive in on the budget later as a full board agenda, so I don't really need to talk about anything related to that budget. But we also did a comprehensive review of the quarterly reports where the college reports to the chancellor's office called the 311Q. And I have to honestly say that I've always looked on the 311Q as basically a quarterly financial report. The 311Q that we reviewed, the Budget and Audit Committee reviewed, was the fourth quarter or the final or annual 311Q. And what I learned and appreciated and the committee heard was that in addition to just reporting out the numbers, you know, what you spent, what you did, whatever, all the state criteria, all the laws that the college has to validate to the state and to the chancellor's office, for example, the 50-50 law for instruction. All these laws are part of the 311Q. And I really appreciated our Dr. Bush, course superintendent Chedva, and the group that was there taking us through all those various laws, showing how we were at 54% on the 50-50 law and complied with all these other compliance things, which I will be honest, I never really knew that those were part of the 311Q. I just always thought it was a finance report. So I'd like to give the rest of the board at least some assurance that the committee heard from the staff on all those compliance issues, and we are in compliance on all those issues. And I am again appreciative to the detail and the understanding they gave us. Thank you.
And just one additional note, the 54% ratio is better than what's required, but it's also one of the higher ratios for community colleges here in California. So the administration is to be commended for that.
Awesome.
Any more board committees to report? We're going to move on to the consent portion of the agenda. We're going to start with agenda item D, which is consent items for students.
Motion to approve.
A second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Student trustee vote.
Aye.
Trustees, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We are next going to move on to consent, agenda item E, which is consent items for instruction.
Move approval.
There are no instruction items, so we'll pass on voting on that.
Okay.
Next is agenda item F, which is consent items for business. Do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
We have some comments before we vote. Trustee Martin.
If I may, I'd like to make a comment after we vote.
All right, so we'll hold the vote first, and then Trustee Martin, you can make your comments. So student trustee, a vote on the consent items.
Aye.
Trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Trustee Martin, you have the floor.
So let me first ask forgiveness of my fellow board members that I have to tell you a story, and it's related to what I'm about to say, so I'll try to make it a quick story. But my recently married daughter called me with a tire problem, and I said to her, she went and got a price on a tire, and she didn't know if that was a good price, and she asked me, what should I do for the car, and her husband. And I basically said, well, when it comes to tires, there's a certain tire store that I always go to. They know me there. They do all my tires. When we have problems, we go there, and they take care of us hands down because we have this relationship with them that transcends it. And I said, when it comes to tires, I really don't care if I'm paying a few pennies more. I want to know that I got somebody who's looking after me when they're picking the tires and helping me work on the car. And I've had flats and problems, and they tow there and they fix us all for free because we have this relationship. So I said, you need a relationship with some tire store like that. And long story short, she went to the tire store and talked to my guy. I bring that up because we just approved an item to go out for a new building consultant to oversee many of our building projects from an RFQ. And there were several names that were presented that the college went through. And usually we're talking under P items or personnel items about people that have served this institution and our students in our district for many, many years, and we bring their name up in great fondness. But tonight I want to talk about a name that wasn't on the agenda, because this time in those requests for proposals and that came back to oversee our building projects, the name of Jack Schulman was not one of the ones that made a bid. And Jack has been in that position representing us through all these Measure P projects. He obviously has a contract with the pool, and Jack Schulman has been a part of this college and this district serving students for decades. And in fact, I'm going to just bring up one facility director of old by the name of Ernie Church, and Jack was sharing stories that he had with Ernie Church. So we're talking about decades of service where Jack, even though he wasn't an employee, but as an independent contractor and as the one who had the contract to manage projects, has been a tremendous, tremendous part of this campus renovation that started back with a library and a parking structure and a new stadium. And for that matter, I think I could simply say that there's probably not an inch of building on this property that doesn't have Jack's fingerprints on the outside of it. But more importantly, there's not an inch of space inside this building that probably doesn't have Jack Schulman's heart inside of it. And he has been an integral part. I can tell you stories of times where the building we're in right now was supposed to be a brand new building and we couldn't afford it because the construction costs rising, and he was a critical part of the team that figured out how to renovate this, to modernize it, keeping the outside structure and doing it. I can tell you of times where we've had gas leaks and no employee was allowed to go in because of work comp to turn off the gas, and students were in danger, and Jack would just go in because he's an independent contractor, doesn't have to worry about work comp, and would turn off the gas leak to make sure that nobody got hurt or no explosion happened. I can tell you about story after story that Jack Schulman has been just an amazing part of this, but all good things come to an end. And I hope as we go out and find our next Jack Schulman, or we go out and we find our next person who's going to be the heart and soul of overseeing these projects and our project management, that we really aren't worried about a few bucks on the price of the tire, that we find somebody who has a relationship like we've had with an individual that legitimately cares about this campus, this college, and this student the way Jack Schulman has. And so we would be amiss, in my opinion, not to stop for a minute and just say, Jack Schulman, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Martin. We're going to move on to agenda item G, which is consent items, personnel. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
And before we vote, discussion. Trustee Chenhua.
I want to go back to the previous set of consent items. And one of the things that I had brought up several times during these meetings is to look at when we look for bid, the criteria for bidders. And I know that we had talked about local businesses being part of that criteria. But one of the things that we didn't discuss, and I know that this may be something that the policy committee will certainly take up, would be minority-owned businesses. You know, what I would like to see at some point is of our vendors, the portion of vendors who are part of minority-owned businesses. I think as an institution that we're looking at equity and diversity and inclusion, it will be important for us to look at, you know, all aspects of campus. Thank you.
I'd like to have Dr. Bush address that.
Yes, on our formal bids and RFPs, we do ask if it is a minority-owned business, if it's a veterans-owned business, and if it's local. And we give extra points in the rating for those once it's disclosed to us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bush. Trustee Wah.
Yeah, so this is back to the item that we're discussing on the personnel. So I just wanted to give a call out to Javier and congratulate him on his promotion to Valley College. I've been long time proponent of dual enrollment and the outreach to all of our districts, all of our K-12 districts within PACCD, and I think Javier has done a great job. I also want to congratulate Dr. Osegueda. I think she's going to do a great job, and I'm really pleased to see that we have elevated the position and kind of wrapped our arms around something that I think is really important for all of our districts and for our district and for all of our K-12. So,
thank you. We have a motion on the floor, and I'll call for a vote. Student trustee does not vote on personnel matters. Trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're going to move to section H, which is agenda item H, which is the action items recommended for approval. And H1 is the presentation of the adoption of the proposed 2019-2020 budget and fund allocations. Dr. Androgianis.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to our trustee, Dr. Bush, who is whiz when it comes to budgets. Take it away.
Dr. Bush.
Thank you. Thank you, trustees. I'm excited to present the budget. Most people don't get excited about it like I do. Okay, I wanted to go over some highlights of the California state budget that was enacted. Governor Newsom signed it into law, and the budget reflects state expenditures of $215 billion, 148 billion, or I should say billion of general fund expenditures. The enacted budget maintains the state's recent commitment to paying down liabilities, building reserves, and increasing spending permanently in one-time initiatives. They put money both into the rainy day fund, and for the first time, they put money into the education Prop 98 fund. Okay. There is some major changes to the student-centered funding formula. It has been morphing over the past year or so. First of all, they kicked out the hold harmless another year. That is not necessarily beneficial to Pasadena because it means our TCR isn't fully funded as they fund the guarantee for others. They are maintaining the 70-20-10 split, 70 to base FTES, 20 to economically disadvantaged, and 10% to student success. They were able to clarify for both last year and this current budget year the student success, that they're only going to count the highest degree earned, so you can't have multiple counts per student. It amends the definition of a transfer. That was very problematic because some finance guy decided it should be the home district, and as you know, we have open enrollments, and we were able to lobby that it is where the student completed the last 12 units before transferring to that institution, and it calculates the student success now on an average. We did receive a COLA of 3.26, and for Pasadena, that's worth $4.7 million. They expanded the California College Promise, which is very good for our students, to a second year. So for first-time, full-time students in their second year, Pasadena will receive an additional $763,000. There's a Cal Grant expansion, and our students can enjoy now an extra $108,000. We had relief on pension costs, so we avoided increased costs of $1.5 million for the pension relief of the STRS and PERS. And they're still working on a longitudinal data system. They've now expanded it to align with CBEDS for a cradle-to-career data system. For revenues, we're going to receive $149 million in state apportionment, and other apportionments will come to $173,943,000. We will spend $176,046,000. That's a $2,100,000 deficit. Keep in mind, this was the money we carried forward for expenditures that were not concluded at year-end last year, and we didn't want to cancel them. There was some questions about the deficit spending and concerns regarding deficit spending in the subcommittee, and I'll have a history of our ending balances so you can see it. Also, Trustee Martin recommended we added Fund 76, the irrevocable trust, which is now on this schedule. So this has all our funds, beginning balance, income, expenditures, transfers, net activity, and then the proposed ending balances. Looking at a history of our ending balances going back to 2015, we were at $12,447,000. It grew rapidly to $20,846,000. There might have been a planned spend down and then to recoup. Then it grew to $26 million, then $27 million. We ended last year at $30 million, and we're planning to drop it back down to $28 million. That represents roughly 2 months of payroll in reserves. We have a chart here of our academic positions. A question did come up about the positions with the amount of new hires, and there was vacancies in the budget that besides the fund that was added and the retirements, and we continue to work with instruction to balance our open positions. Some questions that came up at the subcommittee meeting: what is the percentage of non-residents tuition is for out-of-state or for international? The breakdown is 23% for out-of-state, 77% for international. What is the cost of health and welfare benefits? For last year, it was $15,130,000. Budget year, it's anticipated to be $16,248,000. And then the one that stumped us all, what does CILB stand for? That's cash in lieu of benefits for those employees that elect a payout instead of benefits. Okay, any questions?
Yeah. Trustee Brown.
So going back to that cash in lieu of benefits,
Yes.
approximately how many employees are actually taking, cash in lieu of benefits, and how is that? I mean, we had a conversation a couple years ago about that, and I'm just actually surprised to even see that.
I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Okay.
I just wondered.
Yeah.
Trustees, any other questions or comments on the budget before we call for a motion? Trustee Martin?
Student also.
Just a procedural question. Don't we go through some public hearings and stuff first before we actually vote on it?
Correct. Trustee Martin, you go next, and then our student trustee, and then Dr. Fellow.
Okay. So from the budget and audit meeting, we also were looking at how we did last year as an institution. This is just our budget for the year that we're in. We're looking, how did we actually come out last year? And we came out in the general fund about $2.9 million to the good. And so what the staff said, the reason we came out $2.9 million to the good is because there was $2.1 million worth of projects that they were supposed to get done that we didn't quite get done, so the money didn't get spent on those projects. So in essence, what they're asking us to do is take 2.1 of the 2.9 from last year, and it's back in the budget so that they can complete those projects. When we look at this budget picture as it's presented today, when you start July 1 and you end on June, it looks like you lose $2.1 million. But if you were to go back a year and start July 1 of last year and look for 2 years, and we did everything exactly like this budget was going to do, which never really happens, but pretend, then obviously over the 2-year period, we would still be in the black. So I kind of wanted to make it clear what Dr. Bush was presenting. The committee was politely asking him if there was a way to add a line above state apportionment or something that said prior year project carryover $2.1 million. It would make this picture look better for the many, many people who may see it that didn't get the benefit of your explanation. I guess in good accounting, you can't do that or something. But
I was vetoed by CPAs, and we're fortunate enough to have a very talented internal auditor who politely points out we're going to call that ending balance from last year, and we're going to spend it out of the reserve or the balance this year, so it'll go negative. So that when she tracks the balance, it goes up and it goes down.
Yeah, so I would say for purposes of good accounting and what we're showing auditors and all that, of course you won't do anything like what I'm about to suggest. But what I was suggesting was something that just is a better explanation for the general public, most of whom are not CPAs and really don't care about all those kinds of CPA type things. They just want to know you're being fiscally prudent and managing it in a balanced budget. And the short answer to that is we are, at least for this year, because of this.
Right.
So to the extent that that can visually be portrayed, it would be a benefit, I think, to the public and their understanding.
Okay.
The other thing we did not do in the meeting that we have done in past meetings is we have asked the staff to, when they show us numbers for a particular year, to also try to take a look at the big picture and look at the 5-year projection. And I bring that up because when you look at $28 million, $28 million to me sounds like a lot of money. It really is a lot of money. But you put it in the context of only 2 months of payroll. And I know, as from a business standpoint, and this is what I do for a living, obviously, no good business likes living with the idea that they only have 2 months of payroll in their working capital. That's just way too tight. So in that context, $28 million is, in my opinion, kind of a scary low number to think when it comes to we need to make sure we can make payroll. Secondly, my recollection from prior budget meetings, when we did look at the 5-year projections, and you really make no big assumptions about anything going up or down COLAs or whatever they are, if all you do is track the STRS and PERS increases, that will be increasing. If everything else just stayed perfectly the same, and you can correct me on this, or maybe Chedva was here and remembers better than all of us, but I think within 3 years we are in real deficits and heading down. And I think when we look at the STRS PERS, if it comes through like the state has indicated what they want, and we go out 3 to 5 years, we have a serious reserve problem. Our number is not anywhere near adequate. Obviously, our 76 irrevocable trust is designed to help mitigate some of that, but it won't touch the real issue. And so in some ways, we need to kind of keep one eye looking long to keep a proper perspective of what a $28 million beginning ending balance really means.
Right. The statutory rate for PERS for next year will go up $1.5 million in costs on retiree benefits next year, just because they have cost increases until 2022.
Sum up my comments quickly. I think the committee was comfortable with the presentation coming to the full board. I think we're doing the best we can where we are. I think we wish we had a little more security behind our making our payroll and what may happen to us in a few years, but we'll just keep working on that. And I think that in general, though I wish the presentation was a little clearer, that we're really not deficit spending, we're just taking a little bit that we didn't get done and getting it done now. So I think that's the sum of what we heard in the meeting.
Thank you, Trustee Martin. Trustee Sarkisian.
My question is much less nuanced than Trustee Martin's. And I apologize if this is an obvious question, but just for clarity, in the budgeted positions, in the classified positions, does that include student workers? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Student workers are hourly, so they're in the cost part, but not in the count of positions.
Right. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Trustee Fellow.
Yes, thank you. I want to commend you and the Budget Committee. I thought it was well done. I just want to mention, as a faculty member and a university administrator at one time, that I'm very pro sabbaticals. And if you find some extra money next year, I'd like to see more tenured faculty get sabbaticals.
You better get out of here, boy.
Superintendent. Okay.
So noted.
It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, our sabbaticals are funded at the contractual 2%, although the contract does allow for the board to decide to go up to 4% sabbatical should they choose. But at this point, we are where we're supposed to be at 2%.
Any more comments before I call for a motion?
I just have one question.
Trustee Brown.
Oh, on Fund 59, I think it's, yeah, Fund 59, we no longer do scanning, right? You know, the identity scan, what is it, scan?
Oh, live scan.
Right, live scan. I just wondered, that $54,000 that we have, where does that go?
The 541?
Fund 59.
Yeah, it's $541.
Is it five? Am I not
Yes.
seeing right? Hold on. I thought I saw, okay. No, I had seen another figure. Okay, all right.
It will stay there until when the board closes the fund, then
Okay.
it would revert to the general fund.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And just for clarity, we still live scan, but we don't do it as a service for the community any longer.
Okay.
So we just live scan our employees.
Okay.
Trustee Martin.
I saw another one.
So looking on agenda and seeing that right after the presentation is a public hearing on the budget that gives the community a chance to make comment before the board approves it. So, and then item number 3 is the actual adoption. So be happy to be part of a motion to approve it, but I think we want to wait till we get to H3, if I'm following this correctly, because there may be somebody in the public that makes a comment that impacts what we want to approve in the budget.
Thank you for that point of order. We've gone through the presentation, item number 1. Item number 2 is the public hearing. Trustee Brown, do we have any public comments on this agenda item?
I'm sorry.
Are there any public comments on this particular agenda item? Agenda item H1, the recommend approval for the budget.
No, I don't have
Yeah,
any.
just gavel it, public hearing to order and ask,
No,
and then.
we don't have any.
Okay.
I'm going to call the public hearing to order on the approval of the 2019-2020 budget. Okay. Trustee Brown, are there any public comments on agenda item H1, the proposed 2019-2020 budget?
No, there aren't any.
Thank you.
Hearing none.
Hearing none, I will close the hearing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. And now?
Okay. We're now moving on to item 3, which is adoption of the proposed budget. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Trustee Martin?
Yes, Trustee Brown did find her question.
Thank you.
And in last year's budget, there was $54,000 for live scan. Where are you? And we've closed the live scan program, so she was asking, where did that $54,000
Where do we
go?
send it?
And I'm surmising it would be part of the last year's ending balance. Part of the 2.9 is because we didn't spend on live scan and we didn't rebudget for it again, so.
I will have to research that and get back to you.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second, correct? Okay. Student trustee?
Aye.
Trustees, all in favor of approving the 2019-2020 budget as presented? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Next item is H4. This is to adopt the annual 3/11 financial report for the same fiscal year, 2019, pardon me, this says 2018 to 19, which is our year just concluded, pardon me, and then the budget report for the current fiscal year, 2019 to 2020. Trustee Chen Lau.
I would like to commend Dr. Bush and his team in finalizing this report. It's certainly not easy, given the multiple systems that they have to extract the financial information from. So certainly the report has been very thorough and vetted by the Budget Committee, and I just wanted to commend him and his team for a great job.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Student trustee.
Aye.
Trustees, all in favor of adopting the annual 311 financial report and a budget report?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And thank you again to Dr. Bush and your staff and to the subcommittee. It's a lot of work, and it's a very important part of what we do here. We're now going to move on to item H5, which is approval of addition to the credit curriculum.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, student trustee.
Aye.
Trustees, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 6 is to adopt resolution number 622 in support of National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a question.
Before we call for a vote, we had an approve in a second, correct? Okay. Trustee Brown, do you have discussion?
Yes, I do. I'm actually very happy to see this come forward. It's like long overdue. So whoever took the initiative to do it, I think it was well done.
Well, we do have Alex, and we also have Tito over there to thank.
Oh, Tito.
And Cynthia, I believe, might have had something. Dr. Olivo? Yeah.
Yep, I'll echo my thanks to everybody that was involved in doing that. Trustee Hilsman.
Yes, I wanted to also thank Tito and all the members of the President's Latin Advisory Commission, Committee, Council. Plaque. And I'm an advisor. I attend those meetings, and they're great. It's a very active community. I just wanted to commend them, and I think that the thing that impresses me is that there's a lot of follow through. There's a lot, they rather than just a lot of happy talk, they're really doing some great things, including a Dodger night, which I know our president's going to attend.
I am absolutely attending. I am bringing 5 of my family members with me, and I am so excited because we are not only going on, and I know I'm not going to say this correctly, Dia de los Muertos evening. So the bobblehead. Yeah, the bobblehead is so cool. I can't even tell you. But we're also eating in the all-you-can-eat. We're sitting in the all-you-can-eat
Don't do that.
section.
Don't do it.
Hey, one Dodger dog is not enough. And from what I understand, some staff who are going have calculated the best way to maximize the cost of the ticket, how many snacks to take with them, for later in the week. And I'm going to turn it over to Tito to tell us how many people we have going, and I think we get to take a picture together. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. So part of this year's, we'll actually be able to take a picture on the field, which is a new thing the Dodgers is doing. But we've actually exceeded our original amount of tickets that we bought, so we had to buy some more. So it'll be 95 staff, students, and community members of the college will be attending that Dodger night next week.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Does the president get to throw the ball?
Oh, no, but I will tell you, you have to pay a lot more for that. And they're doing that at the LACCD because Sunday the 22nd is the LACCD day at Dodger Stadium, and Chancellor Francisco Rodriguez is throwing the pitch out. But that costs a lot more money, and the LACCD is a little bit bigger than we are.
Have we voted on this?
No.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, and I'm going to call for the vote. Student trustee.
Aye.
Trustees, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to agenda item number 7, which is to adopt resolution number 623 in support of National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And before I call for a motion, I see we have discussion. Trustee Hilsman.
Yes. Well, I wanted to note that on this sad occasion of the 18 years since the attacks of September 11th, we see that cyber warfare is another great threat to our country, and I think it's important that the college has supported the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We know that it's a real challenge for our country, for our democracy, and I'm glad that we're adding our voice to those who are supporting this cybersecurity effort.
Dr. Androgenis.
Okay, and this subject is near and dear to my heart because when I was president of Los Angeles Valley College, we were the victim of a ransomware attack. And unfortunately, we had to pay $28,000 in Bitcoin to get the codes that would unlock 71 out of 124 of our servers. Wow. And it was kind of a wild 4 or 5 days of going through, because it is a question of, do you do it, do you not pay? And we learned a lot along the way. Number one, it's really good if you know somebody who has a Bitcoin and knows where to buy them. But also that once you have unlocked those servers, you then have to replace them. So while the LACCD had a cybersecurity insurance policy, it doesn't go into full force until you spend $240,000, and some of that must be paying the ransom. And the total cost of that event was somewhere in the neighborhood of $700,000. And there was about a week to 2 weeks where we had no website. And it was the beginning of winter intercession. We had nothing. We were dead in the water. So I cannot tell you how important this is to me as a leader who had to take a college through the process of, first of all, being attacked, and secondly, figuring out what the right course of action to do, and third, doing it, and then dealing with all of the collateral damage. So this is really important to me.
Thank you for your comments, and you've now been appointed to the Cybersecurity Committee.
Happy to, because I have Candace back there.
Dr. Juni.
So I think this is great that this is here. I do want to throw out the fact that currently Dr. Wilkinson, one of our computer science faculty, is on a visiting professorship at the Air Force Academy teaching cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any further comments on this agenda item? I'll call for a motion then.
Move to approve.
Second.
Student trustee?
Aye.
Trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. We're going to move on to Section I of the agenda, and these are information items. And information item number 1 is the Educational Master Plan for 2019. Dr. Androgenis.
Okay, so we are hard at work on our Educational Master Plan. As you know, it's time to redo it because your last plan went from 2009 to 2019. And the college has been going through the process of building that new plan. You approved a new mission statement last academic year, as well as we have a new environmental scan. You also adopted the statewide Vision for Success goals, which became the grounding of this plan. And so what we have now is our very own Crystal Colross here to walk you through where we are with our Educational Master Plan and to talk about what happens next in the process. So, Crystal.
Okay, good. Here we go. So thank you for that introduction. That actually saves me a lot of time.
Sorry.
That's okay. So you remember this. This was way back in 2009. Seems like a lifetime ago. And one of the things I do want to talk about is this mission statement and what we've done with this. I'm going to underline some points in here because you're going to see this a little later on, and you probably saw it when you looked in your packet, how we use the mission statement to actually kind of guide our strategies and our educational master plan. I'm going to show you that a little later. So what we've done so far is we developed the Chancellor's Office Vision for Success goals, and you've seen those. We did the local ones. The Strategic Planning Committee and the Student Success Committee were actively engaged in the process of helping develop strategies and looking at the Vision for Success goals. And then we had a retreat last May where we had members of the IEC, BRAC, Academic Senate, Classified Senate, and Management Association get together and work on developing strategies to address the Vision for Success goals. So there you go, local goals. Well, one of the things that we've been working really hard here on the campus is to develop a common language, because the last time we did an educational master plan, we didn't do this part. And because of that, we ended up with a master plan that had goals, strategies, tactic, action items, and really a lot of stuff in it that probably shouldn't have been there and were really hard for us to deal with. So this time we talked a lot about language, and I've been doing a lot of presentations, as has my colleague David Colley, on this idea of goals, strategies, and tactics. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that tonight. And the first one is what's actually a goal. And goals are the intended outcomes, results, not actions. So the goals are the what, and they're SMART. They're specific, measurable, assignable, realistic, and time-bound. And if you look at our Vision for Success goals, that's exactly what they are. And so we gave an example, which is one of our Vision for Success goals, that PCC will increase among all students the number who can earn an associate degree for transfer. And we started with the baseline, and then we gave an outcome year of 2021, and we gave a number for that and the percentage increase. So see how it's very measurable, specific? Good, that's a goal. Okay, so the next thing we talked about was what exactly is a strategy, and strategies are the initiatives that you'll take to achieve the goal. So now we're moving from the what to the how, and we want to be clear. Strategies, it's a strategic plan, so it has strategies. Okay, so a strategy would be develop additional Chancellor's Office approved ADTs. The next part of this is a tactic, and again, the tactics are not part of a strategic plan. They're also the how, but they're far more operational. So we wanted people to understand that, because when I look at our last educational master plan, we have a lot of tactics and action items in there, which really binds you when you're trying to move through different changes that happen at the college. So we got rid of all that, and so tactics are not part of our strategic plan. Now, if you see our example, that's a tactic. That we assigned it to the counseling department. They'll review our current ADTs, look at what the Chancellor's Office has available, and then see what we can develop locally. That's a very specific action that supports the strategy. Okay, so there it is. It's the goal, the strategy, and the tactic, and that's how they all line up. And as I did, so the goal and the strategy included in an educational master plan. The tactics are not. So we were very careful when we were working with these groups and developing strategies that they didn't develop tactics. So this is my picture when I was out on Colorado Boulevard in Eagle Rock of the bus. I was very excited because normally I see the bus for all the other colleges, and I was very excited to see ours. Yay! So I took a picture. Okay, so you remember the Vision for Success goals, and what we did here in my office, we said, okay, we knew the baseline. We established the target in 21, 22. What we did in my office, we said, well, we want to make sure we're staying on track, so we just divided it out for the other 3 years in between, so we would know where we should be as we're moving towards 21, 22. Okay, remember when I talked about the mission statement? Yeah, okay, so here's what we did. We said, these should be our institutional priorities because they come right out of the mission statement. Equity-minded learning community, academic programs and delivery, campus engagement and environment, and customized student support. We took those right out of the mission. And this is how we organized the strategies for the educational master plan. So you can see our first institutional priority, equity-minded learning community. And then the other thing we wanted to do this time was we said, okay, let's look at our strategies and see which one of those goals it actually applied to. And when the committees were doing this and the groups were looking at it, they said, you know what, we can apply this strategy to multiple goals. And that's a really good thing. Because the way we did it last time is we divided everything out and we didn't have a lot of cross-pollination per se, but now we do. So everybody was very clear that this was a good thing. And then we put in little parentheses, the EP you see on some of those, and those tell you that they came right out of our equity plan. So we did the same thing for academic programs and delivery. We crosswalked it to the goals. Yours is prettier in the handout that you got. It's a very much nicer one. We did the same thing for campus engagement and environment and for customized student support. So that's how we did. Now, notice everything says draft. We're just in the process now of taking this through shared governance and talking to various groups. I don't believe this is the final form. I think that some of these strategies will probably be condensed, and I think some will be added. But we wanted you to get a head start on this and see it before it got too far into shared governance, and be able to take some time to think about it and let us know what you'd like, what else you might like to see.
Thank you.
Oh, right. Yeah, questions. Yay, me.
We have questions. We're going to start on my far right and work our way this way. Trustee Wah.
Thank you, Director Calras. I asked this question, I think I probably didn't ask what I really wanted to know, and I think I really didn't understand the goal for workforce on, it's probably your third or fourth slide, where you're talking about the baseline. And you're increasing the median earnings by 6%. So I think I didn't really understand this much. 24,000 up to 25,000, increasing by 6%. So is that saying that this is the median wage across our area, our region, and we are increasing that wage by 6% based on delivery of education?
Well, our goal is the way it was developed is the Chancellor's Office said of your graduates, this is the median age for the baseline year, 16, 17. Then we went ahead and we looked at what should be the median wage for the LA Basin and said, well, we at least got to get up to that. Do I think that's a really good median wage? Not really. But I think we had to come to some agreement, and it was almost seemed insurmountable because the number was so low what we honestly thought it should go up to.
Yeah,
it's challenging.
So I guess in that particular goal, it does seem like this is so low. So then, what are the following, like goal 4B, 4C? What do those percentages say? What does that translate to? I guess
goal
under goal 4 on that same slide.
Yes.
Okay, so the subsequent goals where you're now listing the wage increase by 6% at 35%, 36%, what does that mean? I didn't understand that.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, so what we did is we looked at what we were increasing from year to year and where we wanted to go. So maybe I should explain that a little differently. So for the regional living wage, the number they gave us was 35%. That's what the Chancellor's Office provided us. How they actually came up with that's probably a little shaky, but I think it's going to get better.
Shaky to me too.
Yeah, right? So, but they gave us and they said where we should be, and we just said, well, okay, we don't really understand and we think it's probably going to change, so we're going to look at this. We set it to 41 and we said that's like a 6% increase. That's a big number to move, but we think we can do it. Do we think the regional living wage will increase by that much? I hope so. I hope we can do much better than that. But right now they're saying that 35% of our students who graduate are earning a living wage, regional living wage.
So in other words, the numbers that we're basing this on are numbers we have no control over. So what we have to do, and how the Chancellor's Office derives it, that's the $64,000 question. At times, they've had a really good relationship with EDD, and they've gotten the data that they need to get, and other times that relationship is strained, and so where they get the data is a big question, but we can only take what we are given for data and try to figure out where we think it should go. But as Crystal said, yes, of course we want it to be higher, but we also have to be realistic about what we have the ability to impact.
I think that researchers up and down the state are really excited about this longitudinal database they're talking about, the
Yeah.
Cradle to Career.
Oh, I'm excited too.
Yeah, I mean, we all have been wanting this for a very long time as a central depository for us to be able to not only really track students, but also do interventions earlier and keep them on track to careers and jobs that will give them a living wage.
So as a follow-up to that, and this is my last question, so apologize. So I did ask that question about the longitudinal data and from cradle to career. I think that is exciting. I think that's a great advancement in the state. I know a number of colleges were already starting to track that just as part of the tracking the goals of what we're doing in the workforce and with CTE. So I know I asked the question, so what have we done? And I think the answer I got
Well,
was
we do order every year EDD data. We send up, there's students who have completed here. We send information up to the EDD and ask for a jobs report and a wage report. So we have been trying to get it on that end. But do I think it's really good? No, it's the best they can do if it's reported, if they're working in fields where a social security number is collected. But we do ask for it and we do track it. The cradle part's a little trickier because we can only use what students give us when they get here, and they don't really have to tell us much. So yeah, we have been trying to track. And then the 4C there is the outcome study, the career outcome study. And we've actually had like one of the highest response rates on that of any of the community colleges, and all of them send it out. Well, it's all sent out for us. So we were kind of excited. So our numbers, I think, are pretty good on that. But, you know, is it accurate? I mean, who responds?
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Brown, you're
Thank you.
next.
So I mean, you guys done a great job. It
thank
looks
you.
good on paper.
Yeah, the theory's always hard, right?
So, looking at the strategies, with this new student center formula, right? The first thing that came to my head was, so we have all this, and this is a good strategy, blah, 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 blah. So, how are we going to measure, maybe a year later, our success? How much role does council, who is responsible for measuring it? Who's going to say in 6 months, okay, we've done well? I mean, is this just going to be a piece of paper and we please the chancellor and that was it? How do we really achieve and know that we are making progress?
The goals?
The goals.
Well, we know the goals, but who is monitoring that we are actually in compliance and meeting it?
Me.
Yeah.
You, it?
Me and the chancellor's, well, not me alone, I'll have help. And the chancellor's office, and that longitudinal database, when they get that in place, is going to really help us be able to monitor our
Which
progress.
doesn't look very like
I
we're
would
going anywhere
also,
with it so far.
I would also say the vice presidents were monitoring regularly regarding, our students enrolling in classes. Are they making progress on ed plans? Are they, being reported through the PCC Connect Early Alert? Are students, passing from one term to the next? And so we all work together to do that.
So we will be able to say in a year from now that we were able to achieve what we delineated here.
Yes.
Okay, I can hardly wait. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. Trustee Hilsman.
So I'm always I'm a worrier, I guess. This is a wonderful plan, and I think it's kudos to you on this. This is a 10-year plan, right? That you have in mind. That's the time frame.
Well, I think we should do it a little faster than that, but.
Yeah.
Right, but you're looking. This will be a plan that will be sort of renewed. You're looking out 10 years, though, aren't
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
I mean, really.
Well, we like to think we are looking out 10 years, but I
Yeah.
also think we also need to think that, 5 or 6 years down the road, there might be things that happen that are going to change this, and we're going to have to revisit
Well,
it.
that's what I was
It
gonna
should be a living document.
Yeah, great. No, but that's what I was going to ask about. So in the financial world, which I'm not part of, I'm just a disappointed observer. In the lead up to in the discussion about the 2008 recession, there was a lot of talk about black swans. And black swans occur in nature very, they're unique. And they're completely unpredictable. But looking back on the recession, people began to see some of the things that weren't appearing in the data that some people were worrying about. So I guess because I'm a worrier, and I think you're a worrier too, are there, in the macro community college environment, are there any black swans that you are particularly worried about?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the student-centered funding formula.
Yeah.
I think that makes me very nervous.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that, could you spin that out a little bit, why you're worried about it?
Well, I don't think they thought it through.
Obviously not.
And I don't think that it's sustainable. And I don't think it's sustainable for community colleges. And I think we just talked about this earlier, how one college is going to get a lot more money for doing not really very much. And it's going to hurt us. And here we are, we're doing just like amazing things, and we could be shortchanged. I don't think they really thought this through, and you can see that in the adjustments they're making now, that they didn't think it through. I mean, the fact that we had to sit down and say to them, you really shouldn't give credit to the degree credit to where the student comes from, you need to give it to the institution. The fact that we had to point that out, to me, is frightening. It's okay, because we're a district that has the majority of our students coming from somewhere else, so we're going to educate them, we're going to put all this time and effort into that, and then you're going to give that dollar credit to where they live?
Right.
Yeah, just one example, and I'll add to that. In the past year, we did very well under the success formula, and I think our success formula amount was $4 million, if I recall, and that $4 million was taken away from us to achieve system-wide the hold harmless. So we were all tied to this success formula, and then we didn't get our success formula money.
They take it?
Yeah.
So, black swan.
I just had one more follow-up.
Trustee Hilsman and then Trustee Watt.
Yeah, so then that's within the educational community, the black swans and that. But what about the wider, the economic environment, demographics, things like that? Are there things that you worry about? And do we have the flexibility as a college, do you think, built in to address some of those things?
Well, I know when we did the environmental scan, one of the things that very much concerned us is we see the declining enrollments in the K-12s, and the majority of our students fall into that. 70% of our students are between 18 and 24, so we're really educating those students who are coming right out of high school. Well, with that number declining, it says to us we have to kind of rethink our educational programs and retool them, because we may have to refocus a little bit on how do we re-educate people already in, or beef up their skills and those sorts of things, as opposed to just focusing on students coming out of high school.
Yeah, and I would just say that I think that the economic environment, the macroeconomic environment, is also a moving target. So we have to be in a position where we can kind of adjust to those needs in terms of workforce development. Yeah.
Agreed. Trustee Waugh.
Yeah, this is kind of general comments. So first, not to be too Pollyannish, but I think that we have come a bit of a way since when the funding formula was first presented, and I had heard that they weren't going to make any changes, and of course, there were some loud voices that were at the table, and so now, we are going through sort of some reiterations of that to make it more amenable. So I get that it's not great, but at least they're listening and they're willing, I think at the state level, they're willing to make the changes. And I think this really speaks to why it's important for us as a college to have a voice at the table. So I really appreciate being with Dr. Olivo at Consultation Council. I think that we are able to voice some of those issues. I know Dr. Androgenis also has a voice at the state table. And I think that we just need to be vigilant and make sure that we always have a presence of leadership so that we do get heard and we get our perspective heard. So just in general, I was really glad to see that you put in an equity component and you identified where we could make those some inroads. And I made this comment in general that the equity agenda is really big right now for the Chancellor's Office. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on that initiative. Dr. Oliva and I just heard at the Constitution Council how there's going to be, a focus on that initiative. I'm going to the BOG meeting in Riverside next week because Deputy Chancellor Gonzalez asked me to speak on that. So what I would like to just ask, and I know that's a lot, it puts a lot of a heavy load on people who already have a heavy load here, our faculty and our staff who are doing lots of work. But just be mindful that that we not just report on what we're asked to report in the formula, but that we look a bit outward and that we maybe look at some of those equity issues. So here, an example is, as you know, I've been working with the joint caucuses, and so disaggregated data has been one of the issues. So we are still pushing forward. We are asking for all the colleges to report on that. We do see it as an equity issue. And so I hope that while it is not specifically called out and asked for in the report cards, that we look at that and we see how we might use that data to close the gaps.
Trustee Wah, at the President's Advisory Committee on API on Saturday morning, Crystal will be there doing disaggregated data for API students. So we're already doing that. And it's not, and it's, we have heard you and how important disaggregating the data is. So we're already down that path.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Wah. Do we have any other questions or comments on this agenda item, on this important agenda item? Seeing none, we're going to move on to number 2, and that is EOP&S 50 years of service. Dr. Androgenis, again.
Hey, I'm going to have Dr. Olivo introduce us.
Yes, I would like to thank the Board of Trustees, our President Androgenis, for allowing us to present during this landmark year. And I'm very pleased to see that we have our faculty and staff from the department in the audience today who work tirelessly to serve our students. Thank you for being here so late to cheer on and support our director, our fearless leader of EOP and Desk Care and Foster Youth Programs. Next up, we have Nikki Dixon.
Good evening, and thank you, Board, for allowing the EOP&S program, faculty and staff to be present to provide you this very important presentation. Again, my name is Nikki Dixon. I'm the Director of EOPS Care, Next Up in Foster Youth Programs. And this has been a very important and milestone month for our program. And also statewide, all EOPS programs statewide are acknowledging that we have been in existence for 50 years and various celebrations have taken place throughout the state. So my goal for this evening is to provide you an overview of what is EOP&S, provide you a historical context of our program, the services that we offer, share some critical data with you, and also highlight some of the activities that took place last week. I also would like to begin just with sharing a quote from one of our students, which really highlights the importance of what EOPS is and how it changes the lives of students here at Pasadena City College. And it reads, "The EOPS program was like a guiding hand that led me through my academic journey and gave me the push I needed at the times I needed it. I had cold feet for schooling before the program, but now I feel like I can thrive in any system." And this truly speaks to what EOPS is. For our students, we are their voice, we are their hope, we are their advocate, and it really does, and it warms all of our hearts to see our students be able to acknowledge their own success and thrive within any system. There was a lot of discussion in the prior presentation about equity. It is important to note that EOPS is the original equity program in the state of California. EOPS is a state-funded program that provides educational and financial support services for low-income and educationally disadvantaged students. At the core of what EOPS is we are a comprehensive counseling support program that assists all eligible students in obtaining their educational goals of a certificate, degree, or transfer. Eligibility into EOPS is determined by academic and financial need as outlined in our Title V regulations. So in order for a student to qualify for EOPS services, they have to be low income, and low income is defined by a student who receives the California Promise Grant. So it was great to see in the earlier presentation that funding for the California Promise Grant will be increased here. You can really understand and know what EOPS is by looking at our historical context, and we are the child of the Civil Rights Movement. Our program was founded in 1969, but you can't talk about EOPS without talking about what happened prior to that. The 60s do represent a period of a lot of social unrest and a cry for equality for all, regardless of your race, your income, your immigration status. Everyone wanted an opportunity to realize the American dream. And so leading up to the events that EOPS was founded, you have the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which is the landmark legislation that took place at the federal level. But even locally, I wanted to highlight some of the activities that were happening within our own communities. In Los Angeles, there was the Watts Rebellion in 1965, followed by, not far from PCC, the East Los Angeles Student Walkouts in 1968. And so there was, EOPS was birthed within this climate of a desire to want to have change and equality for all students. In 1969, EOPS was enacted into law through Senate Bill 164 by Senator Alquist. And today we are celebrating 50 years of student service statewide. So I think it's important to always remember what is the intent of EOP&S, and that is that it is for California community colleges to recognize the need and accept the responsibility for extending the opportunities for community college education to all who may profit therefrom, regardless of economic, social, or educational status. And that truly is what EOPS is all about. Our goal is simple, and that is to increase the enrollment, retention, and completion of underrepresented students here by providing them a safe and supportive environment, as what was outlined earlier by one of our students in the opening quote. Within the EOPS umbrella, there are cohort programs that take place. In about the 1980s, the CARE program was formed, and that was to address the needs of single parents who were also EOPS students. These are single parents. Our program is open to single fathers and to single mothers who are currently receiving cash aid from the county. Just a few years ago, the Next Up program was created, so they are truly the new kids on the block, in 2016, where within EOPS, this program targets current and former foster youth. And more so on a broader equity program is our STARS program, which is open to all current or former foster youth. So within EOPS, we have target and specialized support services for students who are single parents, who are current or former foster youth. Students that participate in these cohort programs get everything that an EOPS student would, but they also get targeted, specialized support to meet their unique needs to ensure their success. Our philosophy is one that we really pride ourselves on, and that is that we go over and above for our students. And if you talk to any EOPS professional, that is something that you will always hear one of us say, is we go over and above and in addition to support the needs of our students. And that essentially means that as a college, PCC provides a baseline support for all services. Our goal in EOP&S is not to duplicate that. Our goal is to go over and above that, to provide that additional extra support to ensure the success for our students. EOPS students that are identified and qualify for our programs benefit from a host of specialized support services that are uniquely created and designed for them. At the core of what EOPS is the counseling support. So our students have access to faculty, and over time, they're really able to establish long-lasting, meaningful relationships with a faculty member who truly cares about their well-being. This faculty member, our counselors, map out an educational plan from A to Z to ensure that every semester they're taking courses that count towards their educational goals. Our students are required to meet with their counselor 3 times a semester, ideally during the beginning, middle, and end of the semester, so that we can have constant contact and we can make timely interventions for students who may need some additional support. One of the other highlights of an EOPS student is priority registration. So priority registration is provided at Tier 1, which is the highest level, for EOPS, our care students, and our foster youth students to ensure that they are getting the classes that they need. Oftentimes, many students struggle with getting classes, especially depending on what your major is, but our students get all of their classes and they get first selection. Secondly is our tutoring. So our tutoring is very specialized in that we provide one-on-one tutoring for our students. It really allows our students to have that one-on-one personalized attention, and they can meet with their tutors multiple times and have reserved hours for tutoring. Another hallmark of the EOPS program are our textbook vouchers. Many students will come to EOPS saying, I want to be in EOPS because I want a book voucher. This is a highlight of our program because it is so critical for so many of our students. Just last week, a student had shared that for one course, her textbook was $250. And so within EOPS, all students that qualify and adhere to their student mutual responsibility contract can qualify for an EOPS book voucher of $300. Another huge support for our students is transportation assistance. For many students, just getting to school is a challenge. And for some, it can be a great barrier for them completing their education. So we provide our students bus passes and parking permits. A few years ago, we implemented a new program called our EOPS College Success Support Group. And this is a very important initiative because one of the things that I wanted to see when I entered this role was really to build a sense of community within our EOPS program, so that students knew that it was more than just counseling or book vouchers, so that they can really establish, quality relationships and understand that someone truly cares about them. So a few years ago, one of our faculty, Dr. Maribel Morales, created the support group, and it meets every Tuesday at noon. And it's very important because I clearly remember talking to a student in our program, and one of the things that she shared with me was that she was a little anxious because she was the only one in college. No one in her family had ever gone to college. No one in her community was currently pursuing an education. And so here at PCC, she felt isolated, she felt alone. And through our support group, it allows us an opportunity to connect students with other like-minded students so that they know that they're not alone and they are part of a larger community to support their success. Over the last couple years, we've been able to benefit from having student success coaches within EOPS who are paraprofessionals, many of which are pursuing a grad program so they can really relate to our students and also provide mentorship opportunities. And we also provide valuable school supplies to our students. We call it our survival kit. I call it a swag bag because it is fully loaded with everything that you need to kick off the semester right. So all of these support programs and services that we offer our students truly are evidence-based practices to ensure the success of our students. So let's take a look at some of our data. This is a quick profile of EOPS students here at Pasadena City College. You can see the age breakdown and the ethnicity. About almost 58% of our students are Hispanic, followed by Asian students or API Pacific Islanders, white, and then African American. And you can see the breakdown for age is about 18 to 24 is the vast majority. But we do have returning adults that will come to our program to get additional tools and skills to advance within their careers. Who are our EOPS students? Our EOPS students are very diverse. Many of our students, as I had mentioned earlier, are the first in their family to go to college. English is their second language. They work, many times they work full-time. Their parents, sometimes they're also single parents. We serve undocumented students. We serve the LGBTQ+ community. We serve veterans. We serve foster youth, those that are currently in the system or those who have aged out. And we serve the formerly incarcerated. So one of the things that I always joke about EOPS is that we've been doing the work before it was a trending term. We've been doing this for a very long time. One of the highlights from the prior year, and kudos to the faculty and staff, as you can see, an ongoing and consistent growth within our program. So for 2018-19, we broke the 1,000 student threshold, serving over 1,000 students, unduplicated headcount, and that was due to a lot of efforts within our program and refining and being reflective on our own practices to ensure that we're able to serve more students. Since 2014 and 19, you can see the enrollments in our program. Over 28,000 enrollments. And the student that you see featured was actually one of our speakers at our celebration in the Quad last Thursday. She's one of our newer students, Jasmine Lopez. She's an EOPS Next Step student, and it was her first year. But she was very confident, and she wanted to share about her experience, and so we provided her a platform to do so. Our success rate. So success within this context is being defined as students that received an A, B, or C in their courses. And our success rate for last year was 74%. And when you compare that to the general population, it is higher than the general population when you look at, in particular, ethnicity. And if you were to disaggregate that even further by various groups, so 74% is very high. So we are doing a lot of work to ensure that our students, many of which represent marginalized communities, underrepresented communities, are getting the support that they need. Two of the students that are featured are EOPS students, and they are also student workers. So if you come to our office, you may see one of them at our front counter. Retention, so student retention, if you look at between 2014 and 18, was 87%. That is higher than the general population here. When you look at ethnicity, it is higher, probably about 2 percentage points. I believe the baseline ethnicity report for retention is about 85%. So we are higher than that. And the students that you see featured were students, most of which actually are EOPS and EOPS Next Step students that participated in HAKU, which is one of the leading conferences, and we are preparing to take another delegation to HAKU again this year. This is one of the pride points of EOPS, and it is our banquet, our end-of-year celebration, because this is where we truly love on our students. And thank you to Trustee Osterling, Trustee Brown, Dr. Ender Jonas, and Dr. Levo for being present at this banquet last year. So from 2014 to 2019, almost 1,500 degrees and certificates were awarded to our EOPS students. Many of our students, because they are working so closely with the faculty member, they're graduating with not just one degree, and oftentimes it's 2 or 3. And so this is something that we do to instill ongoing pride and motivation and encouraging them to continue their education to transfer. And so another highlight of our program is ensuring that students don't stop just at the AA level, but that they also transfer on to a four-year university. And between 2014 and 18, we had almost 400 students transfer to an institution, and this was verified by the National Student Clearinghouse. The student that you see featured on the mic was also one of our featured speakers at our celebration last Thursday. Many of you may know her. It's Sequoia Thompson. She's wearing her UCLA cap because she transferred to UCLA. And she's currently preparing to enter a doctoral program. And this is the team last week. There are more of us, but this is a team that made this shot. This is our EOP Care Next Step team. I often joke and say we are small, but we are a mighty group, and we do critical and essential work to close the equity gaps here. So this is a quick calendar, and it does highlight some of our activities that took place last week. In this room, last Tuesday, we actually kicked it off for our fall, and this was targeting our EOPS students, but we had many other students that were just interested in what EOPS did. We actually had almost 120 students attend that event. The following day, we facilitated two activities. One was the on-site admissions day that took place in the Welcome Center, where over 200 students inquired about EOPS, many of which applied that day online to access our services. And we also provided professional development workshops for faculty, staff, and community members that wanted to know more about EOPS and how we could work together. And we offered an afternoon and evening workshop. And we closed the week by providing a birthday party out in the quad, where we had a DJ, we had our student motivational speakers and faculty speakers, many of which who you just saw throughout the presentation. And we highlighted the importance of EOP&S, and again, we encouraged students to access our program. So special thank you to a number of departments that really supported our events last week. Rebecca Cobb gifted our program with a photo booth. Strategic marketing and communications was very critical with many aspects of the week, so thank you for that. The foundation office gifted us with unrestricted dollars, and as a team, we will be launching a campaign, video campaign that will allow students in their own voice to talk about how they are living the legacy. Facilities was very instrumental as well in helping us have a very smooth event, so I would like to acknowledge and thank all those departments. And in closing, we are in the process of creating a video to highlight our events for the 50th anniversary, and it does feature our retired staff, some of which you may know, faculty and students, and I would like to present that at this time.
We're dream keepers and hope dealers is what I say EOP&S is, and we motivate, we inspire the greatness that we know lies within each and every student, no matter where they came from, what their situation was. Si se puede, you can do it.
50 years of fantastic, amazing, magnificent service to students and their families, and just people in general. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. EOP&S is a lifesaver. I've always said that. And 50 years is a testament to your greatness.
Happy 50th anniversary, EOP&S. Feliz aniversario. I love PCC, and I love all of our colleagues that have done this to really empower our students, and we want our students to know that we love them too, and yes, we can do bigger things that you perhaps never dream of, but work with all your heart.
I just thank the whole EOP&S because if it wasn't for them, I would be extremely lost. And being able to connect with the students that are in the program too, which is a really cool thing, so we can all feed off of each other. Happy 50th EOP&S.
So again, a thank you to our faculty and staff and our entire team for bringing us to this milestone. And it doesn't stop here. We will continue to lead the charge for equity. And it's so great to hear equity being voiced within circles of leadership such as this. We will continue to be at the forefront. We will continue to advocate and be that voice for students and champion our students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I comment?
Yes, trustees. We'll start with Trustee Hilsman.
So terrific presentation, and I've learned a lot tonight about what you're doing. I serve as a liaison to the PCC Foundation, and I know that one of the things that they're planning to do is their traditional role has been to give scholarships and to do support, but now they're moving out into some of the other soft services, I guess you could call them, including things like counseling, transportation, these additional needs. I would think, although I'm sure you've dealt with Bobby Abram over there and some of that, I think that the board of the foundation would really appreciate and benefit from this presentation that you've given.
Thank you for that.
In terms of some of the things that you're doing and that they want to get into and be supportive of, and there may be some real synergy there. So I would urge you to think about that, and I will support you in that.
Thank you. Thank you for that recommendation.
Trustees, any other comments on the EOP&S? Dr. Dixon, I'd just like to thank you and your staff for the comprehensive presentation and all the good work you do. And for the record, can you please repeat your title that was stated at the start of your presentation, your job description?
Oh, my title?
Yes.
Director of EOP&S Care, Next Step, and Foster Youth Programs.
That's a lot of responsibility. How do you get all of that onto your business card?
I do it. It's tough some days.
Yay.
Yeah, thank you to the staff, too. Thank you. And I appreciated you thanking us for attending your banquet, but in return, I'd like to thank you for hosting that banquet and inviting us. It's truly one of the inspiring and rewarding things to attend that banquet, and it makes me feel good about the job that we do, and I'm sure everybody else in the room, to see the success that you generate. Dr. Androgianis, we have a goal to close the equity gap, not reduce, but close the equity gap by what year?
2027.
2027, and that's a very ambitious goal, and you and your staff are going to be a very important part of us achieving that, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I just wanted to say that was a great presentation, and I appreciate what you're doing. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to our Superintendent President's Report.
Okay, I'd like to open my report first by having a moment of silence in memory of those who were impacted by the events of September 11, 2001. You know, we've reached a time where many of our students might be too young to remember that day, but those of us who experienced it will never forget the shock and the loss that we felt that September morning. And I'd like to especially highlight the first responders who passed away in that tragedy. So if we could just pause for a moment to pay them tribute. Thank you. So school is well underway, and Club Week this week, Tuesday and tomorrow, the quad was full of activity, lots of booths, there were snow cones, there were all kinds of things. It was great. I walked around yesterday talking to various clubs, tweeting out various clubs too, so that was fun. And our own Alex, you were making the snow cones, right? Yeah, you were doing it.
Successful job.
Yeah, very successful. So we have some student staff mixers coming up later this month. Tuesday, September 17th, Latinx students and staff, noon to 1 in our Center for the Arts. On Thursday, September 19th, our Asian American Pacific Islander students and staff, noon to 1, and that's also in the Center for the Arts. I guess it's in the Plaza area. Patio? Okay, thank you. Tuesday, September 24th, the Black Family Reunion, noon to 1, here in Creveling Lounge. And then Thursday, September 26th, our LGBTQ students and staff, noon to 2, at the Center for the Arts Patio as well. So our college community had had a little kickoff meeting with HGA, who is our architects, and they are starting to work on our facilities master plan. We had a great activity a couple of weeks ago. We invited leaders from constituencies across the campus, and the activity was really going through what are the must-haves in a facilities master plan, what are we hoping for, and also the do not wants in the facilities master plan relating to all of our facilities at PCC. And basically, it was an opportunity for the college community to kind of come together and talk a little bit about what is it to think about how we use space and how we want to engage interpersonally, especially as we think about changes in teaching methodologies and how the spaces that students use. I would like to say that we were all very clear that the telephone booths in in my office, or in the C building near my office, near Terry's office, those have to stay. I mean, they're so cool. The students use them all the time, and because of our great chief facilities executive back there, Richard Larrett, he installed lights there, and some of the students sit there with the lights on and they're doing things. Other students have the lights off in those telephone booths, but it's awesome. It's like Maxwell Smart is going to jump out of one of them at any time. Now, am I dating myself or what? So that was a great kickoff event, and we'll be sharing more information in the coming months, and we hope to be scheduling a board facilities committee meeting in the next few weeks to start that dialogue among the board. Okay, can I keep?
Yes, but as a quick point of order, I think Superman jumped out of the booth,
right.
and Maxwell Smart had the phone in the shoe.
Had the phone in the shoe. Okay,
Yeah,
I've
carry
mixed
on.
my metaphors.
Carry
Thank
on,
you for
Dr.
that correction.
Androgenis.
No, I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm looking forward to speaking at various public events over the next few weeks. That starts on Friday at the University Club. I'll be giving a talk on leadership and thoughts about being a community college leader. So that'll be interesting. And to some business folks, I think are part of that. I also, next week, have Rotary Club speaking engagements. Pasadena Rotary Club on Wednesday, San Marino Rotary Club on Thursday. And then we'll also have one at the end of October where I'm actually speaking with Trustee Osterling over here. I think that's Altadena?
At the Altadena
Yes.
Rotary Club. Yes.
On October 30th. And then on Tuesday, September 24th, I am going to be hosting all of the Los Angeles Community College CEOs from the 19 colleges that are in Los Angeles County. And the goal of having that meeting here is to have a conversation about what working together as a region can be like. Right now, we are grouped together with the Orange County colleges as well. It's the LAOC region. But we are thinking that there are some missed opportunities for us to do some work here in our own county. And at that meeting, we will have some representatives from the Department of Social Services at the county, as well as from the county public libraries. So what we're trying to do is really figure out how can we work with the county as a group of colleges. So I think it's going to be a great meeting. I also want to say that we have a new series of astronomy events this fall. We're working with Carnegie Laboratories, which is one of the world's preeminent astronomical research institutions, and just up north on the 210 freeway. Starts next Wednesday, September 18th, here in Creveling at 6:30, and it's called, the program is going to be called Glimpses of the Cosmic Dawn, and that's Dr. Alexander G., who is a Hubble Fellow at at the observatories. Basically, it's taking a short tour of the early history of our universe. The tickets are free, so please come on by. And there are going to be some other events in October and November, and we really need to thank our new faculty member. I think he's already left after having his birthday cake, Jake Hartman, because his connections with that group are how we got there. We are also in talks with Representative Judy Chu to host a community event in early October on healthy relationships. Students and the general public will learn tips to help themselves seek out healthy, supportive relationships in their lives. And a big thanks to Trustees Osterling and Waugh for your presence and support at the public event with Congressman Adam Schiff last Thursday. And that is to talk about Schiff's bill, which is food for thought, and that would make $6 million in federal grants available to help with student hunger at community colleges. What we're trying to do is possibly, that's down the road. Ultimately, what we would like is an expansion of the federal free and reduced food program that's currently with K-12. We heard amazing stories about students and how they're impacted by food insecurity, including a student from Pasadena City College, also known as Erica with a K. So I don't often get to introduce Ericas with a K, so that was exciting. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to Agenda Item J, announcements, and we'll start with shared governance. And we are going to start on my far, far right with our Associated Students President, Ms. Dion Shelton. Take it away, please.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. Like President Erica said, the semester is far underway. We're in the week 3 now. So since our last meeting, we have had Welcome Week, which was a success. We got to outreach to all of the new and returning students on campus. We got more new than we did returning, which was great because we always want to greet the new students. The dunk tank was fun. We missed y'all out there. Hopefully next semester, y'all will join in on the fun and activities. This week we have Club Rush, which we have about 85 organizations on campus, and they're out in the quad trying to recruit new members, trying to just increase the student engagement and extracurricular activities. The Associated Students has appointed a new member. His name is Chris. He's the Executive Vice President. He will chair the ICC, and we have lots of things coming up. We have our next event after Club Rush is Constitution Day, which is September 17th, and Alex will talk more about that. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Classified Senate, Mr. Jonathan Lim.
Nothing to report this month.
Thank you. Management Association, Mr. Tito Altamirano.
Yes. So before I begin my official report, I'd also like to commend the Board of Trustees for your resolution in support of Latinx Heritage Month. That has been a long time coming. With over 50% of the student population identifying as Latino, Latinx, it is important that we publicly express this type of support. And as the president of the Association of Latino Employees, I hope to provide more information about the state of Latinx students and staff here at PCC at our October meeting. Furthermore, the board can continue to show your support of not only our Latinx students, but our Black, API, and LGBTQ students by attending the various staff and student mixers that Dr. Andrew Jonas already mentioned here at our Colorado campus starting next week, Tuesday, 17th, in the Center for the Arts North patio. And I'm sure they haven't, but I'll be willing to share the flyers as well with Mary Thompson. Officially, Perp, I'd like to begin by thanking our recently departed Assistant Director of Educational Partnerships, Javier Carvajal Ramos, for his years of service to the college. His dedication to PCC is unmeasured, and he, as well as his smile, will be sorely missed. But second, I'd like to thank Dr. Isela Osegueda for her contributions to the English division and really leading it amidst a challenging time with the changes brought about by AB 705. We look forward, though, to working with her, also welcome her in a new role as the Dean of Academic Affairs. Next, I'd like to thank Dr. Jason Robinson for his tireless efforts in helping organize Professional Development Day for the entire college. The keynote speaker, Dr. Pendacor, was as the young folks are saying these days, fire. So thank you for him and Aaron for that inspiring start to the year. Also thanks to Dr. Brock Klein and his Pathways FYE staff for serving over 2,800 first-year students through 7 jams that took place over the summer this past weekend. Together, we served over, again, 2,800 students with various campus offices. Our students are really in good hands with the various campuses that we're working with. Thanks to Dean Cobb, as Dion mentioned, she helped lead a lot of the support for students, specifically in Welcome Week, as well as right now during this current programming of Club Rush. And thanks to Nikki Dixon for her leadership as the director of EOPNS and all those other wonderful titles over the past 5 years. During that time, the number of students served has risen, as well as the staff needed to support them. And again, congrats on celebrating the 50 years of services. Many thanks to our instructional deans for their hard work over these past weeks in really figuring out the schedules that serve our student population that is taking a lot more college-level English and math classes, which I'm sure Terry can attest to, and really our other deans for identifying what classes in other areas best serves our students to complete their goals in a timely manner. Also, at our last MA business meeting, we discussed various board policies as well as worked on finalizing memberships on shared governance committees. And I'd like to take this time to publicly thank Dr. Leslie Chirpelli for her service on the Management Association board over the past few years. She's no longer be part of the board, but I hope to announce our new board member at our October meeting. And in closing, yes, I'm finally done. But on a more serious note, as for speaking to Trustee Osterling, and already highlighted by President Jonas, I'd like to recommend that the board adjourn in honor of those who lost their lives 18 years ago today when the World Trade Center and the Pentagon were attacked. To those in the buildings working and the brave first responders who willingly sacrificed their lives for the betterment of others, we thank you and we will never forget you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tito. Academic Senate, Dr. Matt Hennis.
I have to follow that. I'd like to acknowledge 2 former faculty members who have separated from the college, Michael Cranfield and Melanie Wilhide from Visual Arts and Media Studies, and thank them for their service. This week we had our first Academic Senate meeting, and we had some shuffling around in the executive committee because there was a vacancy. And I'd like to report that Veronica Jaramillo, who was formerly the treasurer, is now the vice president. And we have the good fortune of having Gina Lopez from counseling as our secretary. She is the one who coordinates the UJIMA program here on campus. And I have heard today that she successfully defended her dissertation.
Yes.
So she is Dr. Gina Lopez. And she had the great fortune of having Dr. Olivo on her dissertation committee. We also, the Senate also staffed many shared governance and academic Senate committees, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that work progresses. Following the first meeting, we had our retreat, the Senate retreat, and as part of that retreat, we did some goal setting. And some of the ideas that bubbled to the surface were focusing on guided pathways. That will be a standing item on our agenda for the year. De-siloing student support efforts from various groups on campus, various faculty groups on campus. I think there's a lot of pocketing that's happening, and we need to increase the cross-pollination. And on that note, increasing information sharing between committees and the Academic Senate. And I'm very pleased to report that today I was able to add an item to our next agenda. It's going to be a presentation from a group of brothers reaching out for our men of color. So we're going to be increasing the equity focus, just the spotlight on equity efforts on campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hennis. We're going to continue on with announcements by trustees. We're going to start on my far left and work our way to the right with our student trustee, Alex Sarkissian.
Alrighty, so as Dion mentioned, we appointed our new executive vice president, Christopher Tung. He has a very hard job this week with Club Rush, so please keep him in your thoughts. And also earlier this week, Dion and I met with our lovely president and just discussed our goals for the year and shared them. And President Erica just gave us some great advice of how to be successful student leaders, which is always good. And as well as Dion mentioned, we will be hosting our Constitution Day next week, Tuesday, September 17th. It'll be in the quad from 12 to 2 p.m. It's going to be headed by our new VP for External Affairs, Frida Ramirez, who also chairs our Student Lobby Committee. And we'll be giving out constitutions, French fries, and boba from Tea Pumps. And if you're not familiar, Tea Pumps is like the holy grail of boba for students. And thanks to the help of our friendly neighborhood, Alex Volkelheide, we plan on tabling with some people from the census as well. And I also, thanks to a friendly nudge from Trustee Wah, I'll be attending the ACCT Leadership Conference with you all in October. And that is all for me. Thank you.
Great. We're glad you can join us. Thank you, Alex. Trustee Chin Lau.
Okay, Tea Pumps is in Trustee Hilsman's district.
Yeah, and I don't get it. I think there's something in those things.
But I like to say that there's a great boba place in my district, which is called Miss Cheese. So I hope that you can come and
we'll
check
cater
out
from there next.
Yes, come and check out Miss Cheese. But having said that, I like to say that we had a great welcome reception in La Cañada in District 1 for President Erica Andrajanis. And it was a pleasure hosting that event at the home of Senator Carol Liu. I see that some friends here are also attended the reception. And it was certainly a great introduction to some of the community members in La Cañada, as well as some of the faculty and staff in PCC that lived around that area as well. And certainly thanks to Chair Osterling for joining us and for meeting the community members as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Trustee Fellow.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad you're meeting with the other community colleges. For many years, maybe this is something you could discuss. For many years, the water industry has been looking at trying to get colleges, community colleges together, particularly PCC, Citrus, and Mount Sac. The Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, the largest water entity in the world, is going to have a lot of retirements. We need people to take their jobs. And it would be nice if we can do joint programs with those two other colleges, and the MWD would be very happy if we can help you with that.
Okay.
It would be a great academic and skills jobs.
Okay.
Thank you.
I had a wastewater and a freshwater program at Santa Barbara City
Good.
College,
We
so I
need
know
that.
all about that. Terry?
Tony, thank you. Moving over to my far right, Trustee Wah.
He's jumping from.
We'll get to you.
Well, I just want to thank Dr. Andrajanis for doing so many Rotary events. I think that Trustee Osterling and I will be turning you into Rotarians. But no, I know San Marino is looking forward to it. And if any of my fellow trustees would like to attend the San Marino Rotary, and I'm sure Trustee Osterling would offer the same, please let me know, and I would be happy to host you as my guest. I also wanted to thank Dr. Andrajanis and Alex for helping coordinate that whole LACCD Food for Thought with Congressman Schiff and GCC. I think that's a great example of how we come together as a coalition for things that we advocated for when we were up in the Capitol. And then I just want to remind that, and this I think dovetails a bit with what Dr. Andrajanis is doing with the other community colleges in the LA area. So when we were up in Washington, we talked about doing a regional discussion of the higher ed issues. So before we go to Washington, we have a good slate. So I think that is a good way for us to kind of launch board that a little bit. And then, and also, if you want to really bring the community colleges together, I'm pretty sure Dr. Vire would be happy to turn over the chair of SANFAC, which has been dead for about 3 years now. So
I don't even know what you're talking about.
6 community colleges of the area were supposed to be affiliated with each other and haven't met for about 3 years. I think Dr. Vire has been very, I think he would welcome handing that over to someone. Anyway, I was really remiss in doing any introductions because I looked out on the audience too late, but I do want to acknowledge a fellow trustee, Trustee Banuelos from Weisburn, who is here. So thank you very much for being here.
Oh, hello.
Also fellow LACSA director. I wanted to also extend that invitation. I think you got an email from me regarding a charity concert that's going to be held at the Westerbeck Hall this Friday. It's a partnership with PCC and a Singpoli affiliate who does charitable events, raising money for various charitable causes, for education, for safety. So anyway, it is. They wanted to extend that, and I hope that some of the trustees will be able to come. I wanted to also say that the Board of Governors will be meeting in Riverside on Monday and Tuesday, so close to us. So if anybody wants to make the drive over to Riverside, they're going to be discussing the equity issues as well as a number of other issues that are on the agenda that I think are going to be pretty interesting. So I know Dr. Olivo and I are on consultation council together, and so we get to hear a lot of that before it goes out on the agenda. So I also wanted to, well, maybe that was it. Yep, that was it. Okay.
Thank you, Linda. Trustee Martin.
Just that it's important for trustees to support the superintendent president. So when she mentions Get Smart in the phone booth, I think my recollection was he did use the phone booth regularly because it was the secret entrance to control. And so,
Thank you,
so
Trustee Martin.
I'm supporting you completely.
That. Thank you.
Have my support.
I
Stand
so
corrected.
appreciate that.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, John. Any further report?
No, if we got that straight, the rest of it's
We're
easy.
good now. That's awesome.
Trustee Brown.
Well, Trustee Brown really don't have a lot to report, but I do have a concern. I think it was, 3 months ago, I requested that we plan a meeting over at Northwest Pasadena, John Muir, and I'm still looking forward to getting that on the agenda before we get too busy.
So noted. We had to finish the ADA ramp and a few other
And it's
things
done,
before
right?
we can invite the public to that area.
So that's
we
done,
do
right?
know. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
So we'll be
Second
looking
that
forward
motion.
to that.
Lovely.
Thank you, Berlinda. Trustee Hillsman.
Yes, sir. I have nothing to report other than to comment that I'm far too young to remember Batman, Maxwell Smart, or any of that stuff. I'm on
Bad time,
Instagram,
same
not
bad
Facebook.
channel.
I just want to get on the record with that.
Thank you, Hoyt. And I have nothing to report. We're going to move on to proposed future board business meeting dates.
President Austin, may I just make one more announcement? I forgot
Yes,
to
please do.
announce that, and I don't mean to usurp Trustee Chen Lau's position as the Laxter representative on the board, but I know you haven't attended the upcoming meetings. September 23rd, which is Monday, will be the first Laxter meeting under President Dickerson as the new Laxter president, and we will be having a workshop on, the presentation will be on CTE, and so Dr. Eduardo will be bringing in the LA County staff to talk about the K-12 Foundation and the money, how they see it used for CTE, and we will be having Trustee Vakar from Riverside come in and speak about how they have roadmapped the K-12 CTE courses into the community college pathways. So we encourage all superintendents and any of their staff who want to come. Laxta is offering the dinner as a twofer. So for every person who comes, the second one gets to come free.
Right, and just a point, that's on Monday, September 23rd, which is not next Monday, but the following Monday. And that should be a good program.
Where is that going to be? Timbuktu?
Okay.
Probably Montebello. I think it's in Montebello.
It's at the Quiet Cannon in Montebello, yes. So going back to proposed future board business meeting dates, we have a calendar established, and only if there's any changes do we need to.
That's correct. And the calendar is in the agenda just as an ongoing reminder, because that way, if anybody has a question, it's right there.
Right, and no need for any change dates
That
at
is
this
correct.
point in time.
Mhm.
Thank you. Moving on, proposed future agenda items. Trustees, any proposed future agenda items? Hearing none, that concludes our announcements. And that concludes our meeting, and we are going to adjourn the meeting. And first of all, I wanted to thank Tito Altamirano, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, for providing that remembrance of the events of 18 years ago, and lest we not forget. But also, we're going to adjourn the meeting today also in memory of Kenan Medema, and I hope I've pronounced that correctly. Kenan is a Marine veteran, a PCC alum, and a former history professor at PCC, and he was later chairman of the Social Sciences Department. His career here at PCC spanned from 1959 to 1993, and we will adjourn the meeting tonight in remembrance of the 9/11 events of 18 years ago, and also in remembrance of longtime
Medema.
PCC employee Kenan Medema.
Medema. I think
Medema.
as
Thank
when
you.
he was my teacher, it was Medema.
John, thank you for that.
Because in addition to all that, he
pronunciation
was my teacher.
and meeting adjourned.